Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. This is the latest Manchester United news and we've got plenty to talk about tonight. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the Glazers and have they done a U-turn and are they about to stay at Manchester United? We're also going to talk about Mason Greenwood, of course, as further reports coming out from The Athletic are saying that the club are very close to bringing him back. And has the backlash changed their mind? We're going to talk about Varane and a possible move to Saudi Arabia. We're also going to talk about Johnny Evans and is he going to get a contract extension at United? And finally, we're going to talk about a big name player who has been excluded from the game against Spurs on the weekend. As usual, get your thoughts in the comment section below. Please hit like and subscribe. Let's get right into it. So yeah, guys, we start in the only place we should start, and that's the Glazers. And, you know, reports have come out. I've done a small little news video on it today that I uploaded. So, you know, if you haven't checked that out, then fine, we'll talk about it now. But a big report coming out from Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News. And for anybody who doesn't know who this journalist is, you would put him in the top tier, you know, tier one journalist. Especially when it comes to Manchester United. He is one of the closest journalists you can get to the club. He's got insights within the club. He's got contacts within the club. He basically knows what he's talking about when it comes to Manchester United. And he has come out today and says sources say there is a real concern that the Glazers may not sell Manchester United, right? These dickheads are going to stay by the looks of it. And as much as I hate saying it, it's a nightmare scenario from a fan standpoint. I have to say, these guys just will not fuck off out of our club and just go. You know, it's soul destroying, I have to say. The report goes on to say that the Glazer family are yet to respond to Sheikh Jassim's latest offer for Manchester United. That offer came in April. I mean, you would at least have the decency to respond to an offer that comes in. If you're doing business with people, whatever stage you're at or whatever level you're at, you have the common decency to respond and acknowledge and, you know, just let... Jesus, boy, they fucking drive me mental. So they do. 4 months that offer has been in and the Glazers are yet to even respond to it. It goes on to say a financial source claimed figures connected to the Rain Group, who are the company that have been tasked with brokering the deal by the Glazers, believe that they have been tasked with selling something that isn't really for sale. So basically, I mean, the Rain Group these guys are not Glazer merchants, you know what I mean? They're basically looking for Manchester United to be sold. They want Manchester United to be sold because they're going to be working off of the, you know, profits of this football club being sold. You know what I mean? They're going to be saying, right, well, we're going to get what now? It's going to be more than 1%, but they're going to probably have a 5% or 5 or 6% stake in whatever sale process goes through. So these guys are going to be wanting Manchester United to be sold, albeit to the highest bidder, you would say, because the highest bidder means they get more money. So these guys are basically sitting on their hands at the moment, according to this report, and they're under, you know, I suppose they're still in the dark to whether the process is continuing, to whether it's, you know, close to being completed, whether it's going to be sold at all. And again, it just stinks of Glazer negligence and Glazer. They're just so slow to make decisions. And we know that as fans over the last 20 years that the Glazers have been notoriously slow at doing things. You know, we see our once beautiful football stadium crumbling, our now second standard training facilities. It just boggles the mind. It really does. It also says in the article that it is understood there was discord among the Glazer siblings when they went to market 9 months ago, and there is still no agreement among the siblings as to what they want to do with United. So we have heard this before, that it basically the 4 siblings in the background that we don't really see all of the time, they're the ones that are happy with the club being sold, and it's Joel and Avram that don't want it sold. These 2 fucking dickheads. So look, I mean, basically what we're dealing with here is these fuckers come in, and I apologize for my language tonight. It's probably going to be more than normally happens, but I'm so bloody mad at these guys. They've come into the club. They've done nothing with it. They've taken out God knows how much and lined their own pockets with it. They've spent $1.5 billion on the debt alone, and the debt that they loaded onto the club. And they have a chance to walk away with close to £6 billion sterling, and they won't just fuck off. You know, when the Glazers took over in 2005, whenever it was, we had the best stadium in the world. We had the best training facilities in the world when we moved from the Cliff to Carrington, you know, and we set the standards everywhere, you know, football, off the field. These guys came in and they've literally slowly but surely sucked the life out of Manchester United. And it's soul destroying. It really is. Like Manchester United were at the pinnacle, you know, and the one thing I would say about this as well is, you know, and especially when it comes from all of the opposition fans and you hear the usual nonsense coming out, oh, but they spent a lot of money. They spent none of their own money. Let's get that one clear. And we've said that on numerous occasions. They spent Manchester United generated revenue, okay? Now, Barcelona or Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or whoever it may be are similar. They will spend, albeit they've got a different ownership model, they also spend club-generated revenue. But look what they have from that. You know what I mean? Manchester United have spent $1 billion or whatever it may be, $1.5 billion, you know, on that the Glazers have spent in terms of trying to finance it and pay back the debt, pulling money from the club. And what have we got from it? You know, Barcelona spent an astronomical amount of money. They were giving Messi $2.5 million a week or whatever it was. And what do they have for it? They got a couple of Champions Leagues out of it. They've got potentially the greatest team of all time to put on the pitch. Bayern Munich, you know, a couple of Champions Leagues. They've got a brilliant stadium over there, the Allianz Stadium. Real Madrid, look at what they're doing with their stadium, you know, and what they've done with it. And the players that they signed, you know, the Jude Bellinghams of the world, the Vinicius Juniors, Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, all of these kind of things, they've got Champions Leagues to show for. What have Manchester United got to show for 1.5 billion? Sweet fuck all since Alex Ferguson left. You know what I mean? All it's been doing is been taking money out of the club, you know, putting it towards the debt that the Glazers loaded on top of it. And we've got nothing to show for it. Absolutely nothing to show for it over the last 10 years. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. I think these guys just need to, you know, pack their bags and fuck off. Nobody wants you. They're so insulated over in America as well. It's unbelievable. I don't even know if they realize what's going on over here. You know, well, I say over here, but, you know, this side of the world in Europe where people actually care about football. Yeah, I mean, I don't see... Look, I'm all for the protests, you know, the Glazers out protests, and I do think that they have made a difference. But are they going to make the ultimate difference in terms of getting the Glazers to sell? I don't think they will. I don't think it makes a blind bit of difference whether Manchester United supporters are outside with Glazers out flags. They just don't care. They probably don't even see it. When did that happen? Wednesday? What day is it today? I don't know. Bring me my porridge. You know, they're just so disconnected from what's actually going on the ground at Manchester United. On the flip side of it, okay, we take this negativity that we're getting today about the Glazers, okay? On the flip side of it, I still think they have to go. And I still think they realize they have to go. And the reason for it is Old Trafford. Old Trafford has to get redeveloped. And the Glazers don't have the money to redevelop it. You cannot pull Man United generated revenue to redevelop Old Trafford and invest in the first team and invest in the training ground. They have not got the money. Manchester United's revenue streams are not big enough to cover all of them at the one time. It's going to take money from the Glazers. If the Glazers do stay and take a minority investment into the club, then it's still going to have to be money out of the Glazers' pocket that goes towards redeveloping Old Trafford. And I don't think they want to do that. Why? Because it means they will have to, for the first time, fucking put their hand in their pocket for Manchester United and spend money. So I do still think there's a glimmer of hope. I think Old Trafford is the beacon. It's that, you know, it's the lighthouse in the distance that's, you know, for fans that are going, there it is, their safety over there, because the Glazers will not spend their own money to redevelop Old Trafford. Why would they? You know, if that was the case, they would have done it 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. You know, we've now got a training ground that needs redevelopment, a training ground that has been surpassed by the likes of Leicester City, by Tottenham Hotspur, by every other half-decent club. I mean, Leicester City are a championship club now, and they've got a better training facilities than we do. You know, it just goes to show how far we've fallen under these pricks. But yeah, I still think there's hope. I still think potentially they could go. But we've seen over the last few weeks the snippets from maybe journalists that you wouldn't, you know, hang your hat on. But we're starting to see heavy hitters coming out now saying the same thing. Samuel Luckhurst being one of them. You know, I don't think the club is being sold, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I don't know. I think, I don't know. I just don't know. Let me see what you think here. Oshin says, will they ever just fuck off out of the club and let us get on with it? Chris says, Glazer's way of getting last push for more money. Well, I don't see that, Chris, to be honest. And I know exactly what you're saying here. But, I mean, if there was their push to get more money, I mean, Sheikh Jassim has not... well, basically, he has said, I'm not increasing my bid that he put in April. I'm not doing it. And Jim Ratcliffe can't afford anymore. So, I don't know. Oshin said, I know I've said it for months that they'd stay, but it still hurts. Be positive, says Chris. Scott says, couldn't hate these pricks more, to be honest. What was the point of this dragging on for months? They are messing with the fans, simple as. Mary says, greedy W's. David says, every time I think things are on the up for United, something new comes along to break me again. The Glazers, Greenwood situation, it's never ending. Can they all just fuck off together for good? Yeah, we're going to talk about Greenwood in a minute. Sorry to keep it negative. Chris says, no one is allowed to say anything of this if they are connected to the Rain Group. Niall says, Ten Hag hang around for this shite signings, scraps. Can't get rid of Maguire and possibly Glazer stay. He'll be away at the end of the season. That's the big worry, Niall. I agree with you. The big worry here is that Eric Ten Hag is going to say, I've enough of this circus. I want to go. And if he does go, and we've seen the progress that he's made, what other manager worth his salt is going to want to come into Manchester United with the Glazers there? You know, if the likes of Eric Ten Hag is going to walk away after what he's done in his first season. Ben says Glazers doing Glazers. Oshin says, nope, Niall, no, he won't. Chris says, what a bunch of... We won't say that word. David says, don't apologize for bad language. It's warranted in this situation. I think so. Oshin says, I know I shouldn't be... vocally challenged, but you'd think they could afford some mirrors in their houses. Yeah, he's not reading that message out, Chris. David says, bring me my porridge and my daily supply of Viagra. Oshin says, can't bring you porridge because their January centre forward loan was running in it for 6 months. That's true. That's true. All right, we won't read that one. David says, you're a top man. It's why you're my favorite United channel. Measured anger and calculated frustration. I know you'll only speak facts. Fair play. I appreciate it. And Mary says, Scott, my exact thoughts. Anyway, let's move it on to something a little less negative, but negative none the same. And in relation to Mason Greenwood, let me just show you who we're talking about here. Mason Greenwood, as we know, look, there's been a lot of Oh, God, there's been a lot of articles wrote about Mason Greenwood over the last couple of days as well. And look, it never rains, but it pours at Manchester United, as we know. Glazers, Mason Greenwood, so on and so forth. So obviously we did see yesterday, and we discussed it last night, that the Athletic not Samuel Luckhurst, his name is on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. Laurie Whitwell. They had a report suggesting that Mason Greenwood's return is imminent. So anyway, there's been a follow-up article with that today. And basically it says Manchester United's plan to bring Mason Greenwood was so advanced that the club even prepared documents outlining the type of images that should be taken of the player during training sessions, and planned how Erik ten Hag should handle questions during an anticipated media storm. The club's preparations for Greenwood's return also included an assessment of the expected sentiment of external figures, listing individual football pundits, journalists, and politicians, and stating whether they would be for or against Greenwood's reintegration. The planning divided these people into categories to effect of supportive, open-minded, or hostile. The club's document listed a series of domestic abuse charities assumed to be hostile. I mean, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, what in the name of God are we doing at this football club? What are you doing? I mean, this shouldn't even be a debate. You know what I mean? Like, look at this bullshit that you're bringing back into your football club after a year of positivity around Erik ten Hag. All right, we've heard Erik ten Hag is supposedly is on board with, Mason Greenwood being reintegrated into the squad. But what are we doing here? Why are we distracting away from the football on the field? We started the season with a lackluster performance against Wolves. Bringing Mason Greenwood back into the fold is just going to blow up in our faces. Whether it's tomorrow, next week, or next year, it's going to blow up in our faces. It's a distraction on the players that are already there. It's a distraction in relation to the fan base, to the media, to everything. You know what I mean? The juice is not worth the squeeze when it comes to this one. It's time to just forget about him, move on. And, I would have loved nothing more than for this never to happen, because he was one of the, he was potentially going to be one of the greatest players to ever come out of our academy. But it's over. It's over. It's over. Move on. There's too much baggage now. It's time to move on. It's time to move on. Other snippets here says senior Man United executives held multiple intense meetings with staff after the Athletic report on Wednesday that some employees feel ashamed by the club's decision to bring back Mason Greenwood. Some staff members have discussed resigning in the event United continue to pursue the plan laid out by Richard Arnold, while others have considered coordinated action, with some staff even exploring a strike. Also, it says the reinstatement of Mason Greenwood is creating questions in Man United's dressing room. The players would have liked to have a say in the decision. The feeling of unease is intense. And finally, some staff members have discussed resigning. Yeah, we that was part of the other one as well. So basically what we're getting here is we're getting the media are against it. Opposition fans are against it. The majority of United fans are against it. Staff members at the club are against it. And potentially players within the dressing room are against it. But yet, we're going to continue on. It doesn't make any sense. It just does not make any sense. You know what I mean? If there was any sliver of positivity coming out of this, then we could run with it. Oh, here's the positivity now. Look, come on in. Come in quickly. Come on, we're talking about, bad things, so you'll make everybody smile. Say hiya, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Come on, United.
Come on, United.
We don't like...
Liverpool.
We don't like Liverpool. Good girl. You are learning, aren't you? Aren't you learning?
When did you learn that?
Daddy taught her. Yes. What's your favourite team? United. And who do we not like? Liverpool. Good girl. Good girl. Now run along. I'll see you in the morning. Kiss and a hug. Mwah. I love you. See you in the morning. Mind your forehead off the corner of that. Now, there's a bit of positivity for us. There's a bit of positivity. A little girl saying, come on, United, and she doesn't like Liverpool. I mean, what more do you need? What more do you need? Anyway. And it's for kids like that we need to set an example for. I mean, do I need to explain any more around the Mason Greenwood situation? We need to set an example. And bringing Mason Greenwood is not going to set a good example. Simple as. Simple as. So anyway, let's see what people in the chat here think. Let's see. David says, the narrative I hate is that what he did was a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk for the missus, not doing what he did. I don't care what anyone else says. He can't come back ever. Oshin says, as a father of 4 beautiful women, I'm ashamed to say that this is how the club have dealt with this. Scott says, Ten Hag needs to step in here. The negativity around this is unbelievable. Sky will have a field day. Well, if Sky have a field day, could you imagine what TalkSport are going to do with it? You know what I mean? Crazy. Mary says, Here, Jack. A year's work will go down the tubes. Let him flip and go. Oshin says, any chance you could work that magic on my mini scouser? Just, you know, you have to get it early, Oshin. You just have to get in there early. Brian, appreciate it. Scott says, finally, a bit of positivity. And Mary says, enough said, kid, all about example for the up and coming. There we go. And it has to be an example. You know, we have to set the right example for the next generation, you know, and I can see it with, you know, I've made an awful lot of Mason Greenwood videos over the last 12 months, and I can see it in the comment section. I look at people who are making certain comments that want him back, and I can see they're the younger generation because they don't understand. And I can see, you know, the majority of the older generation don't want him back because they understand what's happened. And we need, as the older generation, to set an example here. And we also need the club to do the same thing, you know. So, Brian says, I have a daughter. If it happened to her, I'd be in jail for the past year. Of course you would. So would I. You know what I mean? So would I. It's quite easy it's quite easy for people to overlook what people have done because they're in the public eye, you know. And this is not just in football. We've seen celebrities, you know, throughout the history, you know, have done terrible, terrible things and gotten away with it because they're in the public eye. If Mason Greenwood was Jemba, I hate to put anyone else's name, but if Mason Greenwood was an academy player, he would have been gone so fast, you know. But he's a valuable commodity to Manchester United, and money talks, unfortunately, you know. Let's see. Ben says, if the lad was to come back, imagine the abuse he would get. It's best for both parties to cut ties. David said, the Greenwood situation has riled me up so much this week. I'd have nothing more than to bring my daughter to Old Trafford in the next few years. But how could I if this is what is thought of women? Yeah. Less of the older, please, says Oshin. I like the fact that we're keeping it light here as well, because we need that. We do. Finn says, should he be allowed play anywhere? What's the difference between going somewhere else to play? If another club, Finn, wants to bring him back, then fine. That's no problem. It's all about the morals of our club that I care about. And if we bring him back, it's going to be our morals that come into question, you know. If another club wants to buy him. No problem. He's not our problem then anymore. You know, so yeah, if that was the case, why don't we have a raft of offers for Mason Greenwood? He's still under contract. He's got 2 years left. Why haven't we got a queue of clubs queuing up for Mason Greenwood? Because of morals, you know. 40 in 2 weeks, quite sensitive about it. Mary says, Oshin, just a kid. I'm 60. That's the old generation. There we go. David says, people have been sent from United in the past for bringing the club into disrepute. What the fuck is this then? Your guess is as good as mine, David. I tell you what this is. and I'll repeat what I just said, this is a valuable asset. You know what I mean? Aaron says, how can anyone want him back? There we go. Anyway, look, let's move on from it, guys. We've talked enough about it. But look, let's see. Oh, yeah, sorry. This is the one little snippet as well that I wanted to show. The plan also included the possibility of Mason Greenwood himself doing an extended interview in a few months' time once he has bedded back into the club. The medium, whether in-house or via an external broadcaster of the interview, is not clear. So this is just a circus. It's just a complete and utter circus. It really is. And I'm not for it. I'm not for it. Because, and I go back to what I said 12 months ago nearly to the day about Cristiano Ronaldo. Let's swap his name out and put in Mason Greenwood. If Mason Greenwood comes back to Manchester United, it's going to be Mason Greenwood as story number one and football as story number two. And that's why he shouldn't be allowed back, among other things. So there we go. Anyway, let's move it on, guys. Let's talk about Rafael Varane. Reports have suggested today that Saudi Arabia side Al Ittihad have contacted Rafael Varane's representatives. N'Golo Kante and Karim Benzema are attempting to persuade Varane to join them, but he is not. But he is so far not interested. Other reports then have said Rafael Varane wants to continue playing European football for at least one more season. So interesting reports coming out, you would have to say, because I think obviously Rafael Varane is a key player within Manchester United at the moment, and he is a key part of Erik ten Hag's plans, you would say. To be honest with you, this is not this case specifically, because I don't think Varane will leave, to be quite honest with you. I think he's quite happy playing at Manchester United and playing European football. The worry for me here is once the transfer window ends, and I think I have a strong suspicion here that Saudi Arabia are going to time this very cleverly. I think they're going to time it. I think Saudi Arabia are going to be very clever here. They're going to time the acquisition of players once the European transfer window closes. Our transfer window closes, what is it, the 1st of September, 31st of August, one or the other. The Saudi Arabian transfer window is open for a further 3 weeks after that. Now, if you were a Saudi Arabia, an owner of a club, or, you know, the state-owned club, whatever it may be, and you were saying, we can still buy players in Europe once their transfer window ends, I'm going to go in once their transfer window ends and throw ungodly amounts of money at players that we want to sign, because there's no buyback. You know what I mean? There's no way for, you know, clubs to, you know, maybe go and reinvest that kind of money and so on and so forth. So, like, let's take an example. You know, if it was Varane, for example, let's say a Saudi Arabian club comes in once our transfer window ends and offers 100 million for Varane. Are United going to turn that down? Maybe they will, and I think they probably would. But I'm talking in a general sense here. You know, you could be looking at, say, Scott McTominay, or let's go somewhere else. Let's talk about Darwin Núñez, or let's talk about, you know, I don't know, Heung-min Son from Spurs, for example. If Saudi Arabia come in and throw ungodly amounts of money for one of them players, and let's you know, call a spade a spade, they have got unlimited funds at, you know, at these clubs, then I think clubs are going to be tempted by it. I think they are, because I think they will realize that we're not going to get this same kind of money for these types of players that Saudi Arabia want, just because our transfer window is closed. So it does worry me in that way. I think Saudi Arabia are going to continue on the way they're going in terms of buying players like this. There are going to have to be some regulations put in place. You know, it doesn't seem fair to me that Saudi Arabia are not governed by financial fair play, even though they can buy players from clubs that are governed by financial fair play. I think all clubs need to fall in under this one umbrella. And, you know, the fact that they can go out and just throw unlimited amounts of money at players and at clubs. Okay, the clubs are benefiting from it financially in terms of getting players off of their books. But if they do that once our transfer window closes and theirs is still open, then that doesn't seem right to me. If they are going to be involved, I think long term, I think eventually they probably are going to get into the Champions League. If we look at what they've done with Liv and the PGA Tour, they literally kept putting 50s on the table until the PGA said yes. You know what I mean? And I think they will do that with FIFA and UEFA. And I think once they get into the Champions League, we've got some big trouble on our hands, because what do players want? They want to play in the Champions League. Okay. Now, if you can play in the Champions League playing for Manchester United, earning 150 grand a week, or you can play in the Champions League playing for Al Ittihad, getting 450 grand a week, which one are you going to choose? You know what I mean? And then what will happen is you will see a Saudi Arabian club in a few years win the Champions League, and all of a sudden they're the dominant league. And it's worrying. It is worrying. But it's worrying. I think the Premier League is strong enough to hold its own, but it's worrying in relation to a Super League coming back. Because what's going to happen to La Liga and what's going to happen to Serie A and Bundesliga if you have Premier League on one side and you've got Saudi Arabia on the other side, and both of them are sucking every player up? The leagues are going to have to come together in Europe, because it's just going to implode. So there's a big worry there. There really is. And I think the fact that Manchester United and other teams like City and Liverpool and, Chelsea that are in the Premier League, the Premier League is such a big entity, it does protect them slightly from the likes of Saudi Arabia. But I think this Super League is coming back, and I think it's going to come back in a very strong way, because it's going to be Serie A, it's going to be La Liga, it's going to be Bundesliga, it's going to be League One in France that are going to suffer because of this. It really is. And I see them coming together and forming a Super League, in my opinion. Let's see what happens. Let's see what people are saying in the chat here. David says, another thing, what manager would happily welcome a player who hasn't kicked the ball in a year and a half? Yeah, we're talking about Greenwood there. Scott says, the people around him let him get too big for his boots. This is what happens when you make children millionaires, especially in this fucked up world we live in. Let's see. David says, imagine him coming back. He would genuinely be booed by home and away fans across England, and deserve it. David Grogan says, guarantee if he starts scoring goals, it will all be forgotten about. I don't think it would, David, to be honest with you. I think it's gone too far now. I really do. Oshin says, can a club contact a player his reps behind his current team's back? I don't know. I mean, it used to be the case where a bid was agreed between the clubs and then the club was allowed to talk to the player. But if you look at even deals United have done this year, we've had personal terms agreed with Mason Greenwood and Andre Onana and Rasmus Højlund weeks before we agreed a fee. So I'm not too sure. I must give Fabrizio Romano a ring during the week there and see what he has to say about it. Hello, Jack. Sorry, let me just turn that on silent there. Thought that was called tapping up. Yeah, I know what you mean. So are they tapping up Varane? Is that allowed? Yeah, a lot of people think the same thing. I don't know. To be quite honest with you. Again, look, we're talking about the news here, and it's coming from, who's this? Get French Football News. So look, I always say when we're doing these news shows, take it with a pinch of salt, because they're just reports, and we'll talk about these reports, and because it's good to have a chat and talk about United and get away from reality for an hour or so. Ben says, for any Saudi watching, Maguire is 10 times better than Varane. I agree. You want Maguire, you don't want Varane. Finn says, pity someone like Lingard wasn't still there. An easy 50 mil from Saudi. Benny says, he's a great defender, but I would sell him for the value of 2 or 3 decent new players to replace him. Well, look, in relation to the second report there, saying Varane wants to continue playing European football for at least one more season, this might divide opinion, but I would be probably up for selling Varane next summer. Varane cost us, I think it was 33 or 34 million, I think it was. And by God, have we got our money's worth, because he's been a class player for us. But if Saudi Arabia come in next summer for Varane, I would be open to sell him. I would be open to selling him, and then reinvesting that into a young and up and coming defender, because we've seen last year Varane has injuries and he might not play until he's 37, 38. So, I would be probably open to a Saudi Arabian deal for him next year, maybe. Let's see what other people are saying here. I'm after losing where I was. Let's see. Sorry, where are we? Finn says Saudi will bite their way into the Champions League. Oshin says won't get 2 or 3 players, Benny. Clubs will screw us because they'll know we've the money. But if the window is closed, they couldn't replace him until January at the earliest. It would be a problem. Absolutely. Dylan says Varane is a key player for us. If we let him go, who will we replace him? We're not going to let him go, Dylan. We're just kind of hypothetically talking about it here more than anything. Oshin says reality is slightly more attractive than following United at the minute. That's a good point as well, Oshin. And Dylan also says just tell them that Maguire is the best centre back in the world, and maybe they'll give us a load of money. Maybe so. Right, let's move it on, guys. Let's talk about Johnny Cool, Johnny Evans. So obviously, we do know that Johnny Evans is currently on the books at Manchester United on a short-term deal. There has been reports suggesting potentially he may get that deal extended. And Erik ten Hag was asked in his interview today, and he basically said, I'd like Johnny Evans to stay. There are discussions over a new deal. So there we go. Straight from the horse's mouth, as they say. He also says, well, no, I had another one there. There we go. Erik ten Hag says, we are in talks, and when we have news, we will bring it as always. For this month, he is under contract, but we are talking. So basically, by the looks of it, Johnny Evans is going to get a 1-year deal, at least, at Manchester United. And look, happy days. You know what I mean? I like Johnny Evans. I think he's a good footballer. He's past his best. Of course he is. He is being signed as a free agent, as a backup, more than anything else. Okay, so opposition fans, relax. You know what I mean? Before you start going in on us. He's coming in as a backup. You know what I mean? Johnny Evans is not going to be starting for Manchester United an awful lot this season. He's going to get a 1-year extension. It's going to be as a backup player. And that's basically it. You know what I mean? I'm happy he's getting a 1-year deal. I think it's smart out of Erik ten Hag, getting someone with his experience in and good in the dressing room, all of that kind of stuff. Absolutely. I think that it's very smart. But he's coming in as a backup. He's going to play a couple of Carabao Cup games and maybe a Champions League group stage game if we're already qualified or whatever it may be, or away to Scunthorpe in the FA Cup. They're the types of games Johnny Evans is going to be playing. But I do think it's smart out of Erik ten Hag, I have to say. So, yeah, but look, I mean, it's not major news there. I think the majority of us expected it as well, I have to say. Now, from one centre back to another, let's talk about Harry Maguire. And so Samuel Luckhurst has reported Harry Maguire is not present in Manchester United squad that left for London today. So it's big news in relation to Harry Maguire, you would have to say, because, we haven't heard any reports that he is injured. We haven't heard any reports that, he, I don't know, has a niggle, whatever it may be, that he's ill. I don't know. If we were to, look into this in depth, you could say, is there a deal going on in the background for Harry Maguire? Are we working on, potentially West Ham or Everton or whoever it may be? I don't know. Or has Erik ten Hag said, fuck you, Harry Maguire. I told you you're not part of my plans. You turned down the move, and this is your punishment. You're not in the squad. I think that could just as easily be the case. And I think if it is, good on you, Erik ten Hag, because I went in heavy on Harry Maguire last week when this report came out that he wanted a payout to leave Manchester United, and I stand by it. I think he was completely unprofessional doing it. and he was doing nothing, only looking after his own interests rather than, or the interest of his wallet more so than the interest of his footballing career. So good on Eric Ten Hag if he's after doing this. That's all I would say about that. Sorry, guys, I'm just jotting down some notes there. Let's see what people are saying in the comment section here as well. David says, agree on Varane, great player, but have to be ruthless and move him on when the time is right. Absolutely, David. And we've talked about this throughout this transfer window as well. We've said, a lot of people saying, I'd like if Fred maybe got one more year and so on and so forth. And, it's sad to see Donny go and this and that and the other. And I've said it on multiple occasions. Get rid of sentimentality when it comes to selling players, because you need to move them on, and you need to move them on at the right time when you can get some money for them and reinvest that money then back into the squad. I think that's what's more important. So if we can get over this sentimentality, then I think it will make it a lot easier. Look at how City do business. You know what I mean? They're looking to offload Laporte there now. There was talks of Kyle Walker leaving. Gundogan is gone. Bernardo Silva. These types of players, say you're just going, right, okay, they're gone, move on. We'll bring in someone else. And that's the kind of area that Manchester United need to get into. Suzuka says, if I was Maguire, I would stay too. Aaron says, Saudi already in the Champions League with Newcastle. Am I right? Yeah, the Saudi league, the Saudi teams more so than anything else, because Newcastle are under the umbrella of financial fair play, whereas teams within the Saudi league are not. So there is a difference. You can get a lot more money over there, Finn says, Johnny got some roar at the Aviva. He did, in fairness to him. Oshin says, Evans only being kept now because Maguire screwed the Pavard deal. Yeah, and I do want to bring that up here as well. Reports today from Fabrizio Romano have suggested that Inter and Bayern are in direct contact today to negotiate Benjamin Pavard deal. New round of talks taking place after 25 million bids submitted yesterday. Player is pushing to leave. Inter will try, as Pavard is the priority. Depends on a final price tag. Thanks, Harry, you dickhead. So yeah, basically you're spot on there, Oshin. Scott says, if it's one thing Evans has that most don't, is that's the value of our great club, a great, humble, hardworking professional. Absolutely, Scott. They're the types of people you want to have at your club. And I think his wife works at the club as well in an admin role or something like that, or in the media side of it, I think. So yeah, brilliant. Oshin says, this is the start of Ten Hag freezing them out. I think you could be right. Owen agrees. Ben says, 100% Jack. He was professional all the way up to that point. Suzuka said, why don't we just pay off the rest of Greenwood's contract and let him go? Yeah, it's an option. It is, but I don't think it's one United potentially want to take. I'm not too sure. Oshin says, City got stunned with Paqueta though. And Suzuka says, Evans is better than Maguire, to be fair. I think he's a better footballer than Maguire. I would worry with the lack of pace and stuff like that that you get at old age. You know what I mean? But yeah, look, I mean, where do we go? I mean, what do we do? We're talking about Johnny, good news. Varane, good news, staying on. Bad news, even worse news, these two pricks. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. If you're new to the channel, I really do appreciate it. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers. Thanks to everybody for watching as well. Anybody listening as well, guys, a lot of these news shows now are going to be going up on Spotify as part of the paid plan. So if you do miss out on our daily news shows, it's $2.99 on Spotify. You'll still get your podcasts as normal, the weekly podcast that me and Ricey do, but I will be uploading these as a paid plan on Spotify. So if it is something you'd like to do, $2.99. If you do a lot of driving and you want to listen back the next morning, if you can't make these shows in the evenings, that is available to you. Go to Spotify, check it out. There's a link in the description as well. And of course, look, it helps out the channel as well. Of course it does. But you're still going to get everything for free. Your weekly podcast is still going to be the same. All of these news shows are free to watch on YouTube as normal anyway. So yeah, check out whatever you want. I appreciate everybody watching, guys. Please hit like and subscribe. We will be back tomorrow. We've got a game. Tomorrow is game day. Happy days. We'll be live from 5 o'clock tomorrow. So make sure you're tuning in for that as well. I do appreciate you all watching. It was a brilliant watch along first game of the season in terms of numbers and in terms of chat within the live chat and stuff. It was really, really good. So I hope you can all join again. I do appreciate you watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully United can get a win tomorrow. If you haven't already checked out my match preview video, go and check that out. That's on my channel as well. Hopefully United can make the weekend a little bit sweeter. But have a great one nonetheless, and I'll chat to you tomorrow. Take it easy.